a child who was reported missing 3:30 this morning right here on the 400 block of Xenia Avenue has just been found dead.
We have a nonverbal autistic kid, somebody helpless who should be taken care of and looked after. The fact that, he was deceased for several weeks and we didn't even get the call.
Welcome back, and thanks for being here. I'm Cassie, and this is A Wicked World. The story I have for you today is about an autistic little boy who was recently reported as missing. But just hours later, police would receive information that he was actually dead, and had been for some time. This is the story of Hershall Creachbaum. Hershall Creachbaum Jr. was born in Dayton, Ohio on November 1st, 2017, to his mother, Ashley Johnson, and his father, Hershall Creachbaum Sr. The little boy had been born with cerebral palsy and clubbed feet. He was also autistic and nonverbal. And while Hershel used a wheelchair most of the time to assist him, he was still able to walk short distances without any help. The 7-year-old was a student at Ruskin Elementary School, and he was said to be a sweet, loving, and happy boy that would just melt your heart. He was always smiling, and when he got excited, he would hop around in his chair. Hershel loved Paw Patrol, Cocomelon, Alpha Blocks, Spider-Man, Bluey, and playing with cars and trucks. He also had an older sister named Nevaeh, who was autistic too. The boy's parents, Hershel Sr. and Ashley, had been in a relationship up until the time their son was about 2 years old. Once they split up, the couple signed over temporary custody of the toddler to Hershel Sr.'s mother, Missy Creachbaum. It's been said that the reason for this custody exchange was due to Ashley and Hershel Sr.'s ongoing issues with drugs. However, after Hershel's grandmother, Missy, was in a debilitating car accident in late 2024, she was unable to continue to care for her grandson. So the little boy began living with his mother, Ashley, again while she was in the hospital recovering. But it wasn't long until Hershel's mother stopped letting his biological father and grandmother see him at all. The father said he had not seen his son since the summer of 2024, and Hershel's grandmother claimed to have not had contact with him since May of 2025. Just days before he was reported as missing on June 30th, his biological father posted on his social media saying that he was afraid he would never see either one of his kids again. Then in the early morning hours of July 12, 2025, the Dayton Police Department received a phone call saying that Hershel had been kidnapped. His mother's boyfriend, Michael Kendrick, called up authorities at 3:45 and said that someone had punched him, then taken the boy. Police almost immediately began asking the public for help in locating 7-year-old Hershall Creachbaum. It was reported that he'd gone missing from the 400 block of Xenia Avenue, and he was last seen wearing a gray t-shirt with cartoons on it and gray sweatpants. He was described as having brown hair and hazel eyes. Authorities also reported that while the child's whereabouts were unknown, his wheelchair had been located. Not long after, around 4:20 a.m., it was notated in the dispatcher's call log that there was no indication that Hershel had been kidnapped, but rather he was just missing. The log additionally notated that 38-year-old Michael Kendrick was intoxicated at the time that the call had been placed. The home where Hershel lived was then searched, as well as the surrounding area. Investigators even used drones to help assist in locating him, but with no luck. Suspiciously, a homeless man was discovered to be in possession of the boy's wheelchair, and the man reportedly informed officers that Hershel's parents had given it to him weeks earlier. Since the 7-year-old's disappearance was clearly looking suspicious, his mother Ashley and her boyfriend Michael were taken down to the police station, where they were interviewed separately by detectives. It was at that point that the truth about where Hershel was and what had happened to him started to come out. Ashley informed officers that her son was not really missing, but rather he was dead. And he had actually died close to 6 weeks prior. She stated that in late May, she had been in the hospital for a total of 11 days, undergoing and recovering from surgery. While she was away, Hershel and his sister had been left in Michael's care. And upon her returning back home, she'd never seen the boy again. According to Ashley, her boyfriend had told her that her son had died from natural causes. Yes, at just 7 years old. And apparently, she believed him. Michael had then disposed of the boy's body near a set of railroad tracks. When Michael was subsequently interviewed by detectives, he admitted that Hershel had died in his care weeks earlier. While he was supposed to be watching the little boy, he began drinking. Around the same time, Michael got into an argument with someone who has not been named yet over the phone, during which time he lost it and began punching Hershel in the head. Then he pushed him down, causing him to bounce off the floor and striking other parts of his body. Hershel died the next day while he was in the shower. While it doesn't say in any of the news articles that I found who Michael was on the phone with, I wonder if it was Hershel's mother, Ashley, and she heard everything that happened. Once the little boy was dead, Michael told officers that he had kept his body in the house until it began to smell. At that point, he moved it to a deep freezer for a time, before he put him in a suitcase and disposed of it in a grassy field. After a few weeks, Michael went back to the area and recovered Hershel's bones. Then he had left them in a bag in the 100 block of McClure Street. Upon this confession being made, 38-year-old Michael Kendrick was placed under arrest and he was booked into the Montgomery County Jail. He's currently being charged with tampering with evidence and gross abuse of a corpse. And more charges are expected to be added in the future, pending the results of the forensic examination on Hershel's body. At the same time, around 7:30 p.m., officers were sent out to where Michael had told them Hershel could be located. And near the McClure Street Bridge, they found his remains. On July 15th, Michael was arraigned in court, and the judge issued him a $2 million bond.
The family of that child says the Michael that would hurt their junior is a man that they don't recognize.
In front of our faces, they looked like they loved him. They looked like they loved him. He would play with him. He would sit and give Hershel a controller that didn't work to the game system, and he would let him push the buttons to think he was playing the game system. Like, in front of our faces, he put on a show.
Michael's next step will be a preliminary hearing on July 22nd. Then the grand jury will decide whether to indict him or not.
Hershel's mother, Ashley, was also arrested on preliminary charges of failure to report a death and obstructing justice. She may receive additional charges in the future as well.
My name is Cameron Afzal. I'm the police chief for the Dayton Police Department. With me are Deputy Chief Eric Henderson and Lieutenant Eric Sheldon. Lieutenant Sheldon is in charge of our Violent Crime Bureau and in charge of this particular investigation. I wanted to provide everyone an update on a situation that I know has gotten a lot of our attention, rightly so. And as you're aware, resulted in unimaginable tragedy and a loss of a helpless, innocent child. Before I continue, I know there might be tons of questions that you might have, but due to this being an ongoing investigation, we're probably going to be very limited in the answers we provide, but we'll try to give you what we know and as much as possible. First and foremost, my heart goes out to Hershel's family and anyone who truly cared for him. In our line of work, unfortunately, we do see evil acts on a routine basis. This callousness shown in this situation towards this child is horrendous and truly evil. On Saturday, July 12th, about 3:45 in the morning, we got a call from 404 Xenia. The initial call was for a report of a kidnapped child. So multiple crews searched the area as this information, we received this information. As the investigation unfolded, it was determined that Hershel had not been seen for several weeks. At that point, the investigation turned into a potential homicide investigation. Ultimately, it was determined that Hershel was not missing, but was deceased for several weeks. Information was then developed that led our investigators to the area of McClure and US 35. The slide shows you both locations, the US 35 McClure location and also the 404 Xenia. To this location, and we recovered what we believe is Hershel's remains at this point. We currently have 2 people who have been charged.
Following the couple's arrests, Hershel's older sister was taken to the hospital and then into Child Protective Services custody. According to the children's grandmother, Missy, the little girl was found filthy, smelling like urine. She had dirty hair and was also malnourished. And speaking of child services, they had been involved in Hershel's life for some time. They had been called multiple times in the past in regards to his well-being, but these concerns had all gone unanswered. According to a parent volunteer from the school that Hershel attended, Ruskin Elementary, named Bridget Lowe, CPS was called numerous times. They failed him. Developmental Disability Services, they failed him. They were called numerous times a day. And the police department failed him. They were called numerous times for welfare checks. It was parents, it was teachers, the principal, security guards. It was numerous people. However, there was said to be no current open case in regards to Hershel or his sister with child services. Additionally, Dayton Police and Montgomery County Child Services have refused to admit how many times they were actually contacted. But had they done their job, they would have realized that Hershel's mother's boyfriend, Michael, had a long criminal history. This included some pretty serious charges too, like aggravated arson, disorderly conduct, theft, and weapons possession. He had also faced charges back in October of 2024, which included strangulation and RAPE. However, these charges ended up being dropped. And in February of 2022, there was a charge of DV against him that was also dropped. And in January of 2023, a charge of felonious assault against him was dropped too. Which begs the question, why was Ashley letting this man watch her children or be around them at all? Now, since at least July 4th, possibly sooner, both Ashley and Michael had already been telling people that Hershel was dead and he had died of natural causes. So how did they think they were going to get away with saying that he'd been kidnapped? There's been a Facebook group created which is called Justice for Hershall Creachbaum. And while many people remain supportive there of the boy's grandmother, Missy, many have also questioned why the grandmother, who had legal custody of him since he was 2, hadn't at least reached out in a phone call to check on him in the last 6 weeks. There's also been speculation as to why the grandmother has been posting everywhere that Hershel will be forever 8, when the little boy was only 7 at the time. But in her defense, that's something that many news stations have also been reporting, and she does have a traumatic brain injury from her car accident. Since Hershel's body has been recovered, the McClure Street Bridge has turned into a memorial for him and is now full of flowers, balloons, stuffed animals, and toys. A vigil was held on the night of July 14th, and there is another one scheduled to take place at Hershel's school, Ruskin Elementary, on Friday, July 18th. At the vigil that took place on the 14th, the boy's father, Hershel Sr., spoke and said that he'd found out about what happened to his son on Facebook. He said that he likes to think that the little boy is watching everyone honor him from heaven, and he would have loved all the balloons and stuffed animals. The father also stated that his son was the highlight of his life, and he's holding on to the fact that he's now no longer in any pain.
He is our inspiration for being happy every single day, because whether he was handicapped, he never let anything hold him down. When he was happy, he was bouncing around. He loved his cartoons, his music, his lights, and this is a senseless act that could have been avoided.
Hershall Creachbaum's family sharing stories about the boy they knew and how the community has shown up to remember him in a beautiful way.
Seeing all these balloons, all these stuffed animals from people who not only knew him, but people who didn't even know him. And they showed up and showed the love out for this little boy and showed support to the family that we were overwhelmed.
Chastity Rollins, Creachbaum's aunt, vows to speak out against what happened to him and demands justice be served.
Thank you for listening to Hershel's story today. How is it that someone can hurt a disabled child who has nothing but love and trust for them? It's clearly something that only an absolute monster would be capable of. Now, since this case is still so relatively new, If there's enough new information released in the next few weeks or months and you're interested, I'll make a second video. Just let me know. So if you like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. And turn on your notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least 3 times every week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon, so check it out on patreon.com/awickedworld, or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims are never forgotten, and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a story you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email to awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.